I'm Timothy Schneider, Staff Sergeant, retired, United States Army. I was a 27 Delta, which is a paralegal specialist. So before I got to the war, what I thought it was like, I fully bought into the WMD narrative that there's multiple countries. Intel's telling us that there's WMD manufacturing all throughout the country, and plus you know, you, I was alive and old enough to remember the first Iraq War, watching that on TV. And so I just thought it was going to be a rehash of that. We're going to go in there, we're going to destroy everything, and we're going to come back out. Um, yeah, and that's really what I thought. I thought it was going to be the good guys going in and killing bad guys. So we land in Kuwait. It's 127 degrees, sandstorm out the ass, and I'm picked to unload all the luggage from the back of the cargo plane or back of the plane. So that was my first experience in Kuwait. The sandstorm. It's hard to put into words how bad the sandstorm was. And when I got there, I just thought, hey, this is what the Middle East is going to be like. And I couldn't go outside without goggles, without a mask. I mean, even then, sand was getting in my eyes. It was insane. And I was just like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this for 15 months. We finally get to Iraq and we land. It's like 85, 90 degrees, no sand, sunny. And I was relieved that, it wasn't Kuwait anymore. And I landed in Balad via C-130. And, there's a big controlled det place out there. So I was hearing the controlled dets getting set off every couple of every so often. And I thought it was incoming, but nobody was reacting. So I thought my biggest fear was happening. Do I need to start army crawling to the nearest bunker? So that was my first impression. We got off, I'm hearing these loud explosions that nobody's reacting to. Um, you get strange voices going over the loudspeaker. I'm seeing a mosque in the middle of the base. There's an old movie theater that's been, preserved and turned into a subway. It was just strange to see some of the infrastructure that was there. I didn't necessarily expect to see. My day-to-day duties in Iraq were very interesting to me because being a paralegal is already a semi-unique job in the military. And then within that, I was assigned to the Trial Defense Services Department, which is essentially just the public defenders for the military. And I was the only enlisted guy in my shop. So it was me and three officers. And the officers weren't even part of my initial unit. These guys were reservists that were rotating in and out. So when I get there, I'm essentially on my own with these officers that I don't know, and we're doing the defense work for essentially the criminals that are accused of crimes. We are the ones that make sure that they're defended and have their day in court. I never experienced combat in Iraq, but I did experience hostile action. We had mortars that would come in quite frequently. Now, we had C-rams all over base that would knock most of them out, but a few of them did hit. And there was two close calls that I was involved with. There was one, it was me and the officers from my office walking to the DFAC to get some chow. And it was already dark. And we just heard two screech. I heard screeching, as in a screech that I've never heard before. I looked up, and you could see these things coming in, just screeching through the air, and then I'm staring at them. And I was honor graduate at basic training, honor graduate AIT. I took everything very seriously. I thought I was a good soldier. I thought I was going to react to this stuff appropriately, and I was just sitting there staring at it. And then it blows up. And I saw it impacted probably 200 meters away from us, and the LT is dragging me into the bunker. Like, I'm the only enlisted guy in the section, and I'm the one out there just staring at it. So a lot of my vivid memories from Iraq do not come from the war. It came from the crimes that the soldiers were committing over there. And that was a very unique experience at the time. I was young enough to kind of bury it down deep and not let it bother me until later in life. But now, going through years of therapy and looking back, I have a clear picture of how that stuff affected me back then. And the one that vividly comes to mind was a rape of there was two soldiers that raped another female soldier, and they videotaped it. And being on the defense, you have to watch those things, and it's just anything you can think of. Was this consensual? What did it penetrate? Anything you can kind of come up with to the defense of this. And that was already something I was extremely uncomfortable with, because being ideologically linked to due process like I was through the Constitution is much different in practice when you're looking at people in the face that raped someone, and that you still have to put on a smile and pretend that they're not a monster. And child porn was a huge issue over there. And these people tell you, oh, before we deployed, we just downloaded 10,000 images and videos, so it could have been anything. But, even back then, we had software we could tell how many times they opened the file, where did they pause it at, how long was it paused for, all that stuff. So you're sitting with the kid telling you, oh yeah, I just accidentally downloaded that, knowing that he watched the same video and paused it at that little girl 17 times. And it's like trying to interact with those people on a daily basis with a straight face and without, compromising my principles was extremely difficult for me. Now, in the time, I didn't look at it like that. It was just kind of, this is disgusting. But now that I've gotten older, looking back, I realize exactly how hard that was for me. And especially seeing all that and then having a daughter of my own that will potentially be exposed to that kind of evil that's out there it's again, worldview shattering for me. It was hard to swallow all that and just seeing it. And I know my perspective is my sample size is only criminals. So I was exposed to only the worst. But even knowing all that, it's still hard to separate the evil.